know what it is to work for service. I know all the challenges you're facing. But at these times, I ask of you to keep that chin up. Stay strong. And try to remind yourself, if everything goes well, at the end of the cruise, you might be getting a very generous tip.
You're listening to Tonebenders, the Sound Designers Podcast. Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to Tonebenders Sound Design Podcast, where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, series, and games. My name is Tim Muirhead, and I will be your host for today. We are talking to Andreas, Franck, and Holm, who are the supervising sound editors and re-recording mixers on the recent Palme d'Or winner at Cannes, Triangle of Sadness. Directed by Ruben Östlund, the film is broken into 3 distinct parts, all with very specific sound challenges. Andreas, Bent, welcome to Tonebenders. It's great to meet you both.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I have a question about a specific moment in the film that we're going to start with. As I mentioned, the film is kind of broken into 3 different acts, so let's start with the first one. After a very comedic scene with models trying out for a part, we then have an argument in a restaurant, and following that, our main characters go out into the rain and run to a waiting taxi, and it's all shot from within the taxi. When we first are inside the taxi, we hear the front windshield wiper, and it's a very low thudding sound, almost like a heartbeat actually. The characters get into the car, and they're in an argument, and that thudding heartbeat kind of adds tension to the moment. But then after they settle into the back seat, we lose the sound of the front windshield, and start hearing the sound of the rear windshield wiper, which is not adding tension at all. It's a squeaker of a windshield wiper, and it makes this very intense conversation kind of comedic with this squeaky windshield wiper interrupting them.
Such a touchy subject, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's unsexy to talk about money.
I was wondering how the idea to build that sound in came about, because I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, this is typical Ruben style. He does a lot of editing, sound editing in when he cuts the movie. This is a good example of him. He has edited the scene, and he doesn't feel that it's really there. So he wants something that adds to their conversation. From beginning, the front windshield we see in the actual image, so they are there from the beginning, but the rear windshield aren't there when they are shooting the scene. So he comes up with this idea, I want to have a rear windshield that really disturbs them and comments their dialogue. So he finds the most crappy windshield sound you can find on YouTube or internet or something, and he puts that on in. So it's some really squeaky in different tones. Yeah, it's really simple, but it's there for the whole scene. And then they added on the VFX, an actual windscreen in picture.
It's a super effective moment in the film, just because it's a way for sound to set up that this movie is not going to be a normal movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's rare that sound gets to make a very subtle impact like that. Well, maybe not rare, but it's fun when sound gets to make a subtle impact like that and kind of comment on the ride we're about to go on right at the beginning of the film.
There's a lot of people who comment particularly that scene, because in the car, it's one shot in the car. So it's a robotic arm with the camera that goes back and forth to the actors. So me and Bent, we did as well. It's raining a lot, of course, as we talked about. It's raining, and we just put one kind of rain on the man, and when the camera tilts to the woman, we change rain. So if you listen carefully, Bent did a really good, nice, subtle change in the rain. He has a more
aggressive kind of.
Yeah, he has an aggressive rain because he's frustrated and she's just she doesn't want to talk about what they're talking about. So he's just frustrated, and he has a frustrated Rain, and she has a more beautiful woman model Rain.
Yeah.
So it's a really funny scene that, and it's a lot of rain, and it's more like a spaceship car audio. It's not. You can't hear the engine in a normal way as we maybe should have been doing other movies or other scenes. But this is more like a spaceship craft. You just hear some. So it's a small scene, but a very if you just penetrate the scene, it's a lot of fun, sound-wise.
For sure. So this film has a ton of voice treatments in it, be it PA, be it through doors, be it off-screen dialogue. Who handled the dialogue mix on this show?
That's Andreas.
I had to do it. And it's a lot of different dialogue, and I started very early with the dialogue editing and the sound editing, and so I think I've edited up to 4 hours of dialogue for this movie, and then 1.5 hours just gets cut away. So dialogue for this movie has been it's been a big mountain of dialogue editing. But for sure, I after when we were done, I felt that now I can edit dialogue in a better way.
So what were you using to make the various treatments? Did you use any plugins, or was it in the box? How'd you go about it?
Ruben likes to. I mean, if someone in this, in the boat later on in the movie, it's the captain is a lot of times behind a door in the beginning, and he likes to record, to put up microphones and even speakers to re-record stuff, so you get a natural echo and the reverberant, and get that natural behind the door feeling. So some of it is kind of well done at the recording, and then you don't have to do that much.
The recording on set, or you did it in post? Yeah. The recording on set.
No, the record on set, and all these. They have a lot of fun with the PA system in the boat, the captain and one more person, and then they played it a really shitty microphone into a speaker and placed the speaker outside in the corridor, and the sound guy, he called me and said, "Is this okay, Andreas? I don't know what I'm doing. He wants a speaker outside in the corridor." I just, go for it. It's gonna be, for sure, it's gonna be fine, or not, but we just do it.
And is that what you ended up using, or?
Yeah. Every time they use this PA system and press the button, we can hear the speaker blended into all the microphones, and that really gave because you switch in that part, you switch between so many rooms. You have to change all the time the feeling of it, and this re-recording speaker was really handy to just blend in some natural room sound played back in another room. So that was a genius thing to do, and that was Ruben's idea to do. So once again, thanks to the director.
So you mentioned the second act of the film takes place on a boat, and there is a massive storm outside the boat, but we never see the storm, really. We see kind of through windows every once in a while, but there's no like establishing shot like in every other film we've ever seen that would involve a big boat storm like this. So you have to create the terrifying impacts and the devastation the storm is wreaking inside the boat. A lot of that weight falls onto the sound team, because picture-wise, it's just kind of the floor's angling back and forth. Bent, maybe you want to talk about this. How did you go about building the exterior storm and the effects that it had on the boat? I love, there's a lot of dish rattling going on. That's one of my favorite sounds.
Yeah, both Andreas and me and my team worked on that scene, and Andreas actually got like a library made with all these shakes and rattles with plates and dishes and everything. And Ruben also did some kind of thumps and stuff during editing.
Yeah, he was on this some boat and did a test in a storm and just recorded how he wanted this, how it should sound, and it's not this big crashing sound. It's more like thumping and boom, boom.
Are you enjoying yourself? Madam.
The one thing you want to do is like make it really big, like really dramatic, but that's not Ruben's style. So we had one version before he came in, which was quite more, more LFE, bass, more dramatic. But when he came in, we started pulling it down again, and much more dynamic, and and it's so fun to just, throw bottles on the floor and make it, thump into stuff and all these dishes and the food shaking and...
I was really scared by this storm because, as you said, Tim, we didn't have any actual footage, or how does it look, how much storm is it? We don't see anything. So I called Bent and I just, how to do this? I don't know. I'm just, what should we do? So it was like that until, a long time into the final mix. We didn't know actually how to do it, but
we had a lot of sounds, and we just made them work together somehow, and then and it's a long scene. How long is it? It's like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, from start. So it was kind of a lot of work and a lot of layers.
What did you think about it, Tim?
I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite parts of that whole build-up is you start hearing a baby gurgling and crying. At least at that point, I didn't remember seeing a baby. And it seemed almost out of place. And then like 10 minutes into the scene, for a very brief time, you suddenly see the baby and you're like, oh, there's that baby that's been making all that noise. But the baby it really works because it's a very formal dinner that they're all having. And the baby's almost doesn't fit in there and starts making, it juxtaposes the scene really well. And then all of a sudden you do see that baby for a moment, and it made me very happy.
Yeah, and that's also a Ruben sound. He just put that sound in, and I didn't see the baby either. But then there it is. But it's not crying. It's crying a lot in the scene. It never cries. So and it's quite a bit too loud. But that's also Ruben's style. Just to do it little bit too loud, and that's fun.
Sir, madam.
Well, speaking about Act 2 on the boat, that whole act has music almost all the way through, be it someone playing piano in the background. There's huge music during moments of the storm. And then the last act that we haven't spoken about yet has almost no music.
Ruben, he likes to pick his own music. He don't use composer. He wants to just choose the best he can think of, and he tries himself in the editing room. And it's a lot of self-playing piano in the boat, and he moved that piece around so many times, and I just got so annoyed by this piano. I just hate it because he edits that and just so it fits all the reactions and the dialogue, and he just changed it, and I have to move it all the time to follow him. And but it's so it's a lot of self-playing piano. And yes, a scene in a bar where he decided to to have music on set during the whole dialogue. Yeah, all the time this song was playing, and this was super hard. And I hate that song too now because I've heard it so much.
It's funny that I was going to bring that up, that scene in the bar, because so many times in films, I'm actually going to maybe compliment the director's decision that annoyed you so much. But so many times when we have loud music in bars and films, we have people talking and they're just like, "So how are you today?" It doesn't make any sense because there's loud music. In that scene, they're actually yelling at each other. And now it makes sense because on set there actually was loud music.
What you just did here, it meant so much to me. So I'm very rich. Yes, let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah, they had to cope with that song for 2 days, and the sound recordist called me also that time. Oh, Andreas, he wants this song on speakers all the time. What should I do? Just record. It's not your responsibility. If he wants that, you have to do it.
How did you deal with that in post?
Yeah, it was really tricky. You have to use this what do you call it?
Auto-align post or
auto-line. Yeah. A lot of auto-line but as soon as they move, you hear it shifts. It starts to phase, so you have to just turn the volume up and down. It was madness, but I don't think you hear that so much in the end, actually. What do you say, Tim? Did you hear that it was on set?
It did not strike me that there would have been music on set while watching the scene. So you did a masterful job, and I can't even imagine what a headache that would have been. Now I'm thinking back, like, how many edits were there in that scene? Because every edit would have thrown the music all off. Can't even imagine it.
Actually, he admitted. I asked him, "Would you do this again?" I asked Ruben, the director. Because we did the same thing in the first time I worked with him in a movie called Force Majeure. There was also a scene when he used music on set, and that was really good. That really got a nice feeling to it. But that was more like a one-shot thing. This was, he had to edit it, so he admitted that I won't do this again because it was so tricky for him to edit.
I can imagine. That sounds like a very, very difficult thing, but success, because I didn't feel it at all while watching the film. In the third act, another thing I want to talk about is there is a plot point of an animal, an unseen animal at this point in the woods. What the heck was that sound, and why? It was the most bonkers sound. I until the animal was revealed, I had no idea what kind of animal it was supposed to be. How'd that come about?
Sounds ridiculous. We didn't do anything, it sounds like. But that was also the Ruben's. He found some weird sound of a deer or something, I think it is. When they shout out in the middle of the night and you think it's a small baby that is going in pieces. But he put that on, and then it's not actually that animal that is, so it's a different species that he put on, and then you see the actual animal, and then you have to have the correct sound of it. It makes sense if you see the movie for it. But we talked about it. He sent me all these kinds of scary animals because when he was preparing the movie, he just, what animal should it be? I don't know. So he sent me these crazy YouTube clips of different animals screaming in the night. So, but that actually, he used that on set as well. So he played the sound file, and then he has it on his laptop, and he plays it during the scene, and he can play and pause, so he can decide when this scary animal should scream.
And the actors can react to something real instead of something made up.
Yeah, so it's almost as he has his own sampler and just press the keyboard and yeah.
The final mix of this film, what was the surround format for it?
It's an Atmos mix.
It is an Atmos. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the different challenges in the rain? You must have been able to do some fun stuff in the car at the front and in the jungle scenes on the island. Do you want to talk a bit about how you tackled the Atmos mix?
Yeah, I think the where we used the Atmos most was actually in the first part of the film, and also some on the yacht. But we actually did quite opposite at the island, because he wanted it to be like a really primitive kind of place. We did it like really wild with all these animals and insects and bugs and everything. But Ruben wanted it to be more. What should we call it, Andreas? More simple, more lonely, kind of. So I think we actually got more from the Atmos thing during the yacht, the captain's dinner.
For me, one of the most exciting things was that you can get dialogue full range in Atmos. That was really something. This was my first Atmos mix, so that was really exciting to get that. And then the second best thing was, I think, when we listened to the 7.1 and 5.1.
The down mix renders?
Yeah, the down mix renders, they were so similar. I couldn't feel that much of difference. It was amazing. So that was a really big surprise for me. Yeah, it makes it so good. The depth of ambiences and music. In a way, it's not rocket science, but it's so much fun, I think.
Well, speaking of fun, I feel like I would be not doing my job if I talked to you about this film and the sound on it and didn't bring up that you might now be the world's foremost vomit sound purveyors, because there's more vomits in this film than maybe possibly any movie I've seen before. What's your go-to vomit sounds? Bent, you want to take that one?
Yeah, a lot of it is from set, I think. They place these tubes in their mouths, and I think Ruben sat and pushed a button, and then they just came out. And we added all kinds of where the vomit hits the tables, the forks, the knives, everything. But most of the vomit sounds, I think, it's from set.
That was one of the things that I was most nervous about, how to do all this vomiting. But it turned out, as Ben said, that it was really good sound on set with this machine they used, some kind of machine. So you really, and the actors did the
actual
the human sound of it, and then this vomiting machine did the rest, and then Bent added on hits and stuff. So it wasn't rocket science. Some of the vomiting are not that good if you listen very carefully, but you don't listen to the vomiting, you just see the actor. You get more of that than the actual sound, I think, if you understand what I say.
For sure. I had to do a fairly big vomiting scene once earlier on in my career, and I found it to be very difficult. But it was animated, so there was nothing on set that I could use. So I was pouring cans of beans on the ground, and it was very difficult to do. But so you guys are lucky that you had that machine. The machine didn't make any noise on its own. Did you have to clean out any compressor or anything?
No sound at all. So they could do how much vomiting they wanted. So even though the actor had the closed mouth, they pressed the button and just just
came out. Yeah. And we were lucky that all these vocals, came from the set, because it's not, as Andreas say, rocket science to make different sounds of the actual vomiting, but the vocals are just super difficult. And you can hear if somebody is vomiting or if it's someone faking vomiting. So that kind of saved us, I think, for that scene.
Didn't you work, Bent, with a director who you had some vomiting a long time ago, and she wanted to do the vomiting herself, and she actually...
Yeah, she actually did it. So I have some recordings done on Nagra, which and I used it for a lot of films. Yeah. Next time you need some vomiting, call us.
You're my go-to vomit guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to me about this film. I had a really fun time watching it. I went into it completely blind. I had no idea what the film was about. I hadn't seen a trailer, hadn't seen anything. The film took me on a ride that I really enjoyed. And as I said, with the storm, you never actually see it. The sound took on a heavy workload there. And that windshield wiper right off the top made me lean in and go, oh, this is going to be a good ride. So thank you for all your hard work on the film. And I look forward to what you guys work on next. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to send a big thanks out to a couple of people for helping make this episode happen. First, to Rod Thomas. He was fantastic to work with as a volunteer editor cutting this podcast episode. And he would love to work on your podcast too. Rod is currently a student at the University of Wales, Trinity St. David, and he's looking to work within audio post-production and sound design. You can find his contact details on this episode's page at tonebenderspodcast.com. Thanks so much, Rod. You were great. Finally, a big thanks to Katrina Amsler, who has generously donated her amazing Sonic Springs sound effects library to our volunteer editors. This is an absolutely killer sound design library. I picked up a copy myself and have already been using it a lot. If you don't have this library, make sure you check it out. There is a link on this episode's page as well. Thanks so much, Katrina. Stay tuned, we have some great episodes coming soon, including a focus on documentary sound, featuring talks with both the sound teams and the directors of some of the most amazing docs of the year. I cannot wait for you to hear these. Remember, a simple way you can help us out is to tell your friends in the sound community about what we are up to, either in person or via social media. We appreciate any help in spreading the word. Until next time, my name is Tim Muirhead, and this has been the Tonebenders Sound Design Podcast.
Tonebenders is produced by Timothy Muirhead, Renee Coronado, and Teresa Morrow. Theme music is by Mark Strait. Send your emails to info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter via @thetonebenders and join Tonebenders Podcast on Facebook. Support this podcast. You can use our links when you shop with Amazon or B&H, or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click the support button. Thanks for listening.
Are you looking for more audio-related podcasts to listen to? Tonebenders is part of the Audio Podcast Alliance, featuring a hand-picked selection of the very best podcasts about sound. Be sure to hear the latest episodes from our friends in the community at audio